Hi everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be talking about the anime known as How to Keep a Mummy. In this anime, high schooler Sora lives with his aunt Kaide, who is a model. Sora's father, Kaide's brother, is off traveling the world. Periodically, he sends his son gifts, and these gifts have often been questionable at best, dangerous in the worst of situations. One day, another one of these infamous gifts arrives on Sora's doorstep, and he's a little wary, to say the very least. Eventually, he works up the courage to open this gift and finds out that it is in fact a casket. And inside this casket is a little itty-bitty mummy. Fearing that it might be dangerous and not really wanting to deal with it, Sora wants to get rid of this little mummy, but in the end, he doesn't. And the mummy, which he names Mii-kun, is slowly incorporated into his family. The anime explores their relationship, as well as the relationship they make with other imaginary creatures and various humans. I'm going to start by just sharing some thoughts that came up while I was watching the anime. First of all, why does Mii-kun arrive in such a big casket? Mii-kun is only a few inches tall, and this casket is large enough to fit a human. Just really didn't get why he needed all that extra space and what looked like pillow fluff just scattered throughout the casket. Another thing I wanted to know was why the casket looked so Christian as opposed to something that came out of Egypt where Mii-kun is from. I say this because there's a big old cross on the casket and it just doesn't seem like something that fit Mii-kun's homeland. Minor detail, I also felt like coffin would have been a more appropriate word for the casket. I think casket's a little more modern and skews a little more European, whereas coffin skews a little older and is somewhat more general. I also want to know what rules govern the mummy. In our world, mummies are dead. They don't move. They don't do anything. They just lie there and slowly decay. In this world, they can walk around, they can cry, they can eat, and they can bark, etc., etc. I found it interesting to note that the dog and the mummy barking sound like those annoying dog robots from the 90s that do flips. I think we all know what I'm talking about. You know, those toys that were always lined up in KB. They just walk a little bit, bark, bend down, prepare to flip, and then just fall flat on their faces or their sides. Depends on their mood, I suppose. At one point during the anime, Sora realizes that the reason why Mii-kun has been drying out while he was at school is because Mii-kun was so lonely during the day and so upset that he wasn't there to spend time with him that he's been crying until he dries out. And instead of finding a reasonable solution to this problem, he decides to bring him to school and have Mii-kun pretend that he's a doll, which is a lot more complex than, say, leaving him in his aunt's care, who knows about the mummy, or leaving him with one of his friends' imaginary creatures. They're all friends. They could hang out. They have a good time. I just don't understand why it took so long to get to the daycare option, which I feel like would be much easier on everybody involved. Another thing that really confused me was a conversation that Sora had with Motegi. In this conversation, they talk about how there are many different species of imaginary or mythical creatures in existence, and how the knowledge of their existence would cause a panic. This conversation seems to include mummies, which are an actual thing. You know, the decaying bodies that are all wrapped up and mummified from our world. They just don't move around or anything in anything outside of How to Keep Your Mummies universe. And Sora seems to acknowledge this later, that our kind of mummies are a thing in their world too, in a later episode in another conversation with one of his friends. So this left me really confused because apparently mummies can be imaginary creatures, but also how we've come to understand mummies. And my brain doesn't like this. To backtrack a little bit, another thing that really confused me is how Sora's father just managed to ship a mummy in a casket via regular mail. It looked like it was delivered by FedEx, and I don't feel like that's a thing that you could just do, considering what a mummy entails. Now that I've taken the time to share some questions that came up while I was viewing, I want to take some time to provide my final thoughts and let you know whether or not you should watch this anime. I really, really liked this anime. I liked the art style. I think it was very cute. I liked how all of the imaginary creature children were portrayed, especially the antics that they got into, how the care of Mii-kun in particular was depicted. I thought that the characters were very well developed and well rounded. I would argue that the imaginary creature children were actually more developed and more well rounded than humans. I'm going to give some examples of both. Motegi is the most high-energy character in the group of human friends. She's very athletic, very cute. For the most part, she's very, very positive, but she's terrified of lizards for some reason, but not really terrified of anything else you would associate a younger female being terrified with, like bugs. She doesn't seem to care about that. I'm in love with all of the imaginary creature children. I'll start by talking about Mii-kun, since he's arguably the main imaginary creature child. Mii-kun, in case you couldn't tell from the title of this anime, is a mummy. Very little itty-bitty mummy, and I would describe his character as a mix between the Pillsbury Doughboy, Baymax, and a small child. He, for the most part, is someone that needs to be taken care of. He's described as a sort of younger brother that you have to manage and care for. He does grow throughout the length of the anime and start to care for other people in his own way, and that's really cute to see. I think it's adorable how he gets lonely. I mean, it's sad. You don't want anyone to feel lonely, but that aspect of his character makes him very easy to like. His childish antics are adorable. He's a very playful nature, and it's very hard not to love this character. Then you have Koni, the Oni child, and you could describe him as the most childish of all of the imaginary creatures. He's definitely the delinquent child. He doesn't really listen, doesn't really behave, goes off on his own, does whatever he wants. He's always kicking and hitting and acting out. You could argue that he's basically one of those children that just constantly wants attention and will do anything to get that attention. And his idea of the best way to get attention is to just not always be the most polite. He likes to take things that aren't his, like bed space, food. He doesn't care. He just does what he wants. Then there's the young baby dragon, Isao. Isao is the most grown up of all of the imaginary creatures. He can be viewed as an older brother, always taking care of the others. He is the smartest, the first one to pick up letters and things like that and help the others learn. He's a caretaker, and he's always looking out for everybody. And I really like that. I like that these characters and these creatures are well-developed characters. They're not just beings doing cute things together. Yes, they're all cute and they all do cute things together, but that's not all they are. And I really, really appreciate that. I think the pacing for this anime was very good. The story wasn't anything special, but it was compelling. I would say that overall it was very wholesome. It was very sweet, gentle, tender, very family friendly. Definitely gave me some How to Tame Your Dragon vibes. It had conflict, had drama. It wasn't enough to ruin the wholesome vibes, but it was enough to change things up, spice things up, create obstacles that allowed the characters to grow, to connect, and to drive the plot forward. Overall, I really can't get over how awesome this anime was. I love the art, I love the characters, I love the story, I love the pacing. I'm really sad there was only one season and it doesn't look like we're gonna get any more. This came out in 2018, so my hopes aren't high. My understanding is that the end of the anime is a little different than the manga. So I do have that to look forward to. Since they're not the same, I could always go read the manga and see which one I like more. If they're both amazing, I imagine that's the case if they keep to each other fairly closely. And that's all I can really say. I absolutely love this. I definitely think you should take the time to watch it, especially if you're looking for something relaxing, wholesome, family-friendly, feel-good, something with a great cast of characters, decent voice acting, a bunch of people and little creatures doing adorable things together. This is just one of the best things I've watched all year. I was looking forward to every episode. I would get frustrated when I had to stop watching because this just made me so happy. It made me feel great after a long day at work. And there you have it. My should you watch? Heck yes. Go put it on right now. It's on Crunchyroll. And it's amazing. You won't be sorry. Sorry, my voice got a little high there, guys. I was just very excited, in case you couldn't tell. For all of those who have watched this, let me know down below in the comments what you thought. Who was your favorite character? Who was your favorite imaginary creature child? Was there an imaginary creature you wished would have turned up in the anime that didn't? Let me know down below. I always like to know what you guys think. Let me know too if you haven't seen this and if this is something you might want to check out, especially given my recommendation. I just like when you all talk to me. Talk to me, guys. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue. Subscribe, ring that bell so you'll know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.